episode 3. Welcome back, y'all. Lindsay, hey baby.
Chris, hey.
How you doing?
Good.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back, be talking to you.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
This is cool. Y'all, we filmed those first 2 episodes that you watched yesterday, and we came away buzzing. Like, this work feels good. This work feels true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like dreams coming true.
Yeah.
Reverence, chapter 3. Well, I got, like, when I read that chapter and in prep for today's podcast, in prep for today's podcast, I just went through the chapter again, and I kept getting reverence as synonymous with 2 words that are all over human religion and human spirituality, and it's sacred and it's holy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you could read reverence and you could rename this chapter holiness. You could read reverence and you could rename this chapter sacredness. And where I think about the words sacred and holy are like planted into spirituality and religion all over. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what Gary's getting at with reverence is an attitude of richness, an attitude of depth, an attitude of this matters, this is special, and it should be treated as such. So yeah, I think I can just get us started off with reading how he defines it.
Okay.
Reverence is engaging in a form and a depth of contact with life that is well beyond the shell of form and into essence. He goes on to say, the orientation or the attitude with which a personality approaches the evolutionary process determines the nature of the experiences that will be required for the evolution of the soul. Even if all of our species were reverent, that would not end the need for our need to move through our own evolution. Probably wrote that wrong.
Typo.
It would change the quality of the learnings within the process of evolution. In other words, if we became reverent this day, we would not be exempt from the demands of our evolution, but the quality of the experiences that we would encounter would be different. We would not harm life. We would still learn the same things, but in the process of learning, we would not seek to harm or destroy.
One thing that came through in reading Reverence, that chapter, for me, what stood out to me was Gary's description of reverence being not the same as respect, because I can respect one person and not respect someone else. And to revere life, there's no such thing as revering life in one person. Like if the reverence is for life without revering life in all.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was really cool to read because it reminded me of the micro and the macro of what my human experience is, and then what I'm seeing outside of myself, which we talked about yesterday, where the places that I'm not revering life in my own interactions with self, like when I make certain choices about what I'm intaking into my body, what I'm watching, name any way that I could like, and have subtly been like, well, I'm going to undercut what the quality of my life. Like, I'm going to not revere life so much right now because this is what I want. And so that just reminded me that's like anywhere, like, it's like the remembrance of Lindsay, always start at home. How am I revering life as I interact with myself? This embodiment of life, because this is the same life that's in every other being.
That part.
Yeah.
And that's the like the seeing and the awareness that Gary uses to say, to explain that when you live reverently, you know that if you see a stranger, if you pass a stranger on the street, like, in your awareness, it's not just an other.
Mm-hmm.
The same life is in that stranger that you never talk to, that is
Mm-hmm.
in you. And he says something about like a depth. There's a depth of understanding, a depth of contact from one life form to another, including animals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really beautiful. And I think it's like worth us taking the time to distinguish, and unpack a little bit, that like he's not saying that living reverently has nothing to do with not making the mistakes or not needing the learnings.
Mm-hmm.
And he is saying that living reverently changes I'd say, like, the ways that lessons can be learned. And in the chapter, he says that, living with reverence then means that you're not gonna harm. You're not gonna respond with harm. You're not gonna respond with cruelty. And so I read that and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. So I can learn. I can learn these lessons with less pain for myself,
Yeah.
and with less pain to others. The
Yeah.
same lessons, just in a different atmosphere.
Yeah. In one of Gary's meditations, I think, or like commentary on reverence, which we've linked to in the study guide pages of the 50 Days of Evolution program, he talks about reverence being an essence to essence connection. And so when I think about reverence and how I learn
Oh, that's good.
yeah, it's like I'm connecting, like the essence to essence is the soul. It's the namaste, like the light in me is the light in you. And I think that's pretty cool because like when I project that out to my whole life, it's like the ways, the richness in which that gives me access to relate to people, essence to essence, is so much more powerful than you know, female to female or 5'7" to 5'7", or even all the other ways we relate or look to create relations. We've talked about this with our front desk team here at Collie about like how do you relate to different people walking in, and just the reminder in this chapter of like, if I'm in reverence, I'm relating to essence, and then every person who walks in is a miracle.
Right. And that's huge, because relating from the essence, then we get to transcend, like, oh, here come another black dude. I'm about to, you know what I'm saying? Oh, here comes an old person or whatever. Like, I'm gonna align, and I'm still gonna, like, my personality still gonna be what it is, and I'm gonna be most aligned to, oh yeah, that soul, behind all that soul above all that, like, that's the same. I see you in there. And in a beautiful way, it makes checking someone into class, or signing someone into meditation or whatever, it makes those interactions sacred,
Life
holy,
changing.
like the synonyms, right?
Yeah.
It's and that's what I really like about this chapter, is expanding sacred and holy out into the totality of the human experience. And yeah, my personality can carry some annoyance with, like, sacred plant medicine and sacred ceremony, and the sacred ritual. It's like, it's all of it.
It's all sacred.
It's all of it.
It's sacred
all of it.
oatmeal.
And
if
I
you
mean,
want it to
no
be
shade, because I can get the point behind using that
Yeah.
word, but there's like,
It's
Yeah.
sacred washing your hands. It's sacred
take
put
a
your
poop.
pants on. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I lost my thought, and I love. Oh, I just remembered it. Okay. With the sacredness, the essence to essence relating, that like opportunity of whatever I'm doing and whoever I'm seeing. Like one thing, I mean, probably the biggest thing I love about this whole book is the teachings of this earth as the curriculum for your soul to evolve. And within that, if I'm up for revering the life in front of me, which is if I'm up for revering life, period, I can then experience ordering coffee and talking to the barista for 30 seconds as part of the curriculum of my growth. It's like, so like no interactions then become like the throwaways. And that doesn't mean like when I hear myself say that, I'm like, oh wait, whoa, that sounds like a lot of work. But like the divine and the sacred, I'm like, that doesn't have to be a lot of work. Like being with and present, the miracles and the growth are going to come through. I don't have to like dive deep with every person to be present and revere that life.
You don't got to try hard. You don't got to like try to make it an epic moment.
Yeah.
Like you don't got to make it like, you know, you in the checkout, like,
gosh, because when I have tried to make it an epic moment,
we're here.
Yeah.
It just is.
Yeah.
It just is. And that's, I love that because that brings more value to this experience and like a lot of it brings the spiritual like reward, the spiritual value of life into this life, not like after when it's over or what you earn or you know what I'm saying, like you know, heaven, you know what I'm saying, like be good and you'll go to heaven or you know whatever. It's like
because then am I just being right good to go to heaven? Right.
It's like the value is right here.
Yeah.
The value is right here. And I think he uses atmosphere, like, and I think about the atmosphere here on earth, and living with reverence, we make the climate of the experience different, richer, richer, because I know that if I say thank you to you for whatever one of the many great things you do for me, if I say thank you from reverence, it's that intention, reverence infuses intention, and it's like, oh yeah, like it's a bigger thing than even an autopilot thank you. If I take the time to be reverent about being with Cashew Baby down here. Is he in the frame? Yeah, Cashew Baby down here. He's being with him. Seeing and not and here's the thing about this chapter or this topic, like not picking out what's reverent, what's not, what's sacred, what's not, what's holy and what's not. It's like even the moments that I want to be a secret, even the moments that I want to hide, even the moments that I want to, those are still opportunities. Those are still moments of life that are like, it matters. It matters. And I can live with I can consciously bring that reverence to them or not.
Yeah. It's funny, like being in yoga studios for as many years of my life as I have, and you don't even have to be in them to experience this, like pretty quickly. People coming in the door and just like choosing reverence, but then going, oh my gosh, this place, it just has something so magical, and the people here are just so amazing, and I just feel so good here, which I'm not going to pull anyone aside and be like, hey, it's actually the exact same as all the other buildings you went in today. Like, you've just chosen to revere. I mean, you've just chosen to come in here. And it's like, it's funny in that way because it's just, it comes down to like choice, intention, what I'm choosing to see. I can walk in anywhere and revere life and revere the people there and revere that experience, and it becomes sparkly. That's revealed. The divinity is revealed. And I wanted to bring that up out of like just how often it's like put on, I experience it being put on a space or a gathering of certain people, or like, oh, there's just like, I've heard like there's just something in the air there. And like the funny cosmic joke is like, well, no, there's not. And the great news is no, there's not. It's all our choice. Whether we're revering, I can go in the club and revere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just be like, wow, this place is holy.
Am I open to it? Am I open to receiving?
Mm-hmm.
Am I open to seeing?
Am I open to laying down what I've decided about people?
Um, so let's talk about, with reverence comes the call, then in it naturally, like it's almost like a natural, this naturally occurs as an effect of being reverent, and that is creating responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
Creating in the sense of aware of intention,
Yeah.
aware of the law of karma, and
Yeah.
responsibly creating moment to moment, creating your life moment to moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to put into that too, like destruction as part of the creation process.
For sure.
Because I was listening to something the other day that it was a Jordan Peterson podcast. He was talking about sacrifice, and I was looking for content to share on the power of sacrifice, and he was talking about essentially intuition and our ability to map out in our own mind the choices that we could potentially make and how those will most likely play out for a better future for ourselves.
Which Gary does that. I don't know if he's done that yet in chapter 3, but that's a big part of this too.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, I can hear the thing when I say hear, I mean my intuition. Like I hear the thing. I'm like revering life. And so life tells me, okay, destroy this habit or start this pattern. And reverence, to me, as I'm experiencing it right now in my life, is like, am I willing to create responsibly then? Because past the mark of knowing that and being able to see like, oh yeah, that would bring doing that action or stopping to doing that action and filling it in with a different action, that would bring a future that is more integrated, more evolved than the one I'm currently living. Well, then if I'm up for revering life, I'm willing to sacrifice whatever I've now discovered is holding back my evolution.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, like, put simply, reverence makes everything more important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, oh, this decision matters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This decision always matters.
Mm-hmm.
This moment matters. It's just always important.
Yeah,
like it's just,
yeah.
that's big. That's big. It's big to accept that.
Yeah.
It's big to accept that every single moment special, not just the moments you call special.
Yeah. I'll tell you why I laughed. There's times in my life where very, very great teachings come through the form of someone yelling. It's like, I just remembered, I think I was like 20 working at a yoga studio. up to put them in the drawer. I don't know. But one of the team members said, does that even matter? Does this even matter? Like, we had really like gotten stuck on something. And one of the managers of the studio, just like such clarity and like the fire of Kali, said, it all matters. And I just like, I hear that in my head from time to time when I want to like skip through something, especially in this space. You know, I'm like, oh, there's a puddle on the floor right there of sweat. Should I keep walking to the front desk? Does that even matter? And then I hear this person yell, it all matters. And that's why I laughed, because like reverence is the remembrance of everything matters. There's no throwaway.
Gary he presses some buttons in this chapter. He says the human species has become arrogant. And in your last share, I'm like, you know, this also makes me think about in our last podcast, you said like, we don't need to be out here like trying to work above our pay grade. It's not up to us to say which are the important moments, which are not the important moments. And I mean, it is challenging. I like this work. It's challenging to my worldview to keep saying, nah, man, like the drive home is as important as the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like this sip of coffee, this sip of cacao, there's something here for me in this same moment as being with Sky. You know, like it's not. Yeah.
Which, having a daughter has helped teach me that I actually have no idea which moments are the most important and not. Because the stuff that at one point would have seemed so trivial to me can hit me now as like, that was the most beautiful moment and I want to remember that forever. And it's just like maybe the way she's like, hi, mommy. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It's not the job interviews that I have been like, okay, this is a big moment of my life. Yeah. It's like, it's all important. And when I even attempt to create a hierarchy, I'm wrong anyway, because it's all important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got one for you.
Okay.
I'm in. Highlighted and little notes next to it all.
Yeah,
and
y'all, I had to get a new Seat of the Soul because in the last 4 years I've read this book 4-ish times and I had tabs, notes, highlights, everything. So Lindsay's first time through the book, we set up a mommy's week for her where
yeah.
Mommy's week. We'll tell y'all that story one day. But during the mommy's week, she took my copy down and read the book for the first time, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'll tell them the story in 12 seconds. It was a week away. I was camping on my own. I was excited.
You never camped.
I never camped because I got up. Where the car had broken down, and then drove me to a hotel and left me there for a week, and it was fabulous.
Yeah. So instead of Lindsay having that day as the first day of her week and Sky and I together for a week, I took Sky to
CC's.
To CC's, Lindsay's mom house, drove 5.5 hours to rescue Lindsay. Then I took Lindsay to a beautiful hotel in downtown Charlottesville. So rather than having a weekend in the woods, she was in downtown Charlottesville. I drove back. Sky and I had our week together.
Yeah.
And so Mommy's week just looked different. Where in downtown Charlottesville, you read Seat of the Soul for the first time.
Yeah.
And there was something in there highlighted.
Yeah, and I think it's the last, it's a very short note on your page. I think it's the last one. Do you want to touch it? Because I don't even know where to go with it.
Oh, are we talking about veganism
Yeah.
as morally superior.
Yeah.
No, we're touching
Do you want to
it.
touch
Yeah,
it?
we're
Okay.
touching it. We're touching it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just like, oh, because I wrote in the book, I remember this note. I said, so, ... is veganism stupid?
Yes,
With a question
that
mark.
was the note you wrote. Is veganism stupid?
Yeah. And that was not my, like, what I would say on a podcast.
Right,
type
naturally.
thing. But Gary in this chapter says, like, the judgment of one species preying upon another can be looked at as the dominant species survives, including us. Whatever we can dominate, we survive. Or it can be looked at as a give and take, as a natural giving and sharing amongst nature, amongst the ecosystem. And I wrote in the notes veganism as morally superior because I've been vegan for years. I've not been vegan for years. And I go, like, I can get with how, if my body feels different, I can get with a lot of different takes on the health benefits for one person or not, and the health benefits for certain people for eating meat or whatever you're on. And I think this chapter really, really challenges, like, choosing veganism or any lifestyle as, like, this is the lifestyle that is, like, the right lifestyle. And yeah, so let's touch it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, from what you just shared in regards to reverence, like, I remember going through the first, maybe second teacher training I went through, and we were all having all these insights about, like, how we were being and, like, how we thought. And I say thought because, like, it's all through the filter of my experience, how I thought people in my family were being then, now that I had these insights. You and I have talked about this before with, like, getting on something and then just becoming that person in the family who's like, but wait,
God, yeah.
are you really drinking out of that plastic bottle right now?
I'm just, look, I'm sorry to my whole family in 2016 when I got into fitness, because I got so locked in on y'all.
Yeah. And they love you still. And it's beautiful.
Yeah, they do. I was in a trance.
And I remember, like, we talked about in that training, you've heard it, above the line, below the line. Like, above the line, am I living in faith and joy? Or, like, below the line, am I in judgment, separation, things that, you know, divide? And so to, like, one of the ahas I remember from that training was getting down to the conversations about how we were interacting with our family and how we were interacting when we perceived someone was doing something that wasn't the way to go. And it was like, it's this, like, this just divine, I keep using cosmic joke because it's what we got to was the second I'm looking at you and going, well, now I'm down there in judgment. And judgment is not a place to revere life from. Judgment is a place to condemn from.
And I tried on, like, one of my times trying on veganism was for, like, is this the right thing?
Yeah.
And I did that with a lot of different things. And so I can relate to, like, this is what I'm going to do because this is the way to be from experience. And I know that, like, first off, trying to figure out and implement into my persona the things that will make me right, that's hard. It makes me super anxious. And so even there, I now see that, like, intention will trump external action, you know, like the place from which I could come and the choice be to not consume animal products. I could still not consume animal products and come from a place of superiority, judgment, you know, whatever.
Here's what revering life with food looks like to me right now. Here's what
say that.
Whether I'm eating meat or not, reverence is am I eating to the point of full, nourished, fed, or am I bypassing that into the reality of giving myself more food than I need at that time is going to put an extra strain on my system to process that.
Eating for avoidance, eating for suppression, eating for entertainment.
Yeah, even just eating for fun, like putting more stress on my body, which is the container of my life force, is me not revering life. Like it's being like, wow, let me turn off the reverence real quick so I can do this thing that's just like not great.
Which actually isn't real. Like you can choose to be in the dark on the reverence, but it still matters.
It still matters. There's still an impact. I think reverence around food is making the best decisions that I can at the time and being, being compassionate with myself. I mean, I could eat. Yeah, it all comes down to like, what's my intention with the food and what am I trying to ignore too?
If a person watching this is like, okay, well, what does best mean? How do I even make choices around food if everything is reverent? How do I even make choices around my schedule if everything's reverent? Will you share some on your compass for decision making? And we can stay with food, or you can broaden it out.
Yeah.
Like what's your compass for weighing value or choosing if we're sitting here over and over again exploring? It's all reverent. Intention is everything.
Yeah. It's all reverent. Intention is everything. And my growth that I came into this earth needing to do, or here to do, I'll say, is not the same as anyone else's growth that they're here to do. You know, that unique evolution that is every experience that will be unique to Lindsay Crisp on this earth is uniquely for Lindsay Crisp. And so how I choose to navigate is to practice a lot of physical yoga. Like practice physical things so that my body can be in feeling my intuition. For me, intuition has a very physical component to it. It's like it's not always out in the like ether. It's not in the world of a voice. Sometimes it's very physical. And so I mean, I do it kind of Jackson Pollock style where I'm like just letting flings go where they go, where I'm not sitting down and saying like, okay, what are the things that matter most to me today? And what are the things I'm going to eat? And what are the conversations I'm going to have? But I'm like in real time listening for intuition and knowing and feeling that uprising of like, oh, I'm about to tell that person right now, yes, when they ask me if I want to go to coffee, even though I could come up with 7 other things that I quote need to do, but I just felt the physical, intuitive, like the vibrancy of yes. And that's the same thing with food too. My brain will come up with stuff all the time that it wants to eat because my taste buds love sugar and my taste buds love salt and my taste buds love all these greasy things that I eat from time to time. And it's like when it comes up, the brain's like, well, that's what you want. I'm like, okay, intuition. Is that a high vibe? Yes. And I'm not demonizing types of food here. What does have an impact is like when I go in the direction of things that are vibrating in my body is no, but I justify why I'm going to go ahead and go with that. Because sometimes a pizza vibrates so yes, and I make that call. But it's different than like me mapping my life and decisions from this projection I have of how I should be as a human or how I should eat or what I should do or how I should spend my time.
And that's a powerful part too, because I think like the last piece that you just shared was like through connecting to self and through the practice of connecting to self, you can see the tools that you're using to make decisions. So it's like, is this coming from ego? Is this coming from five sensory? I guess as Gary would say, is this coming? Am I coming from love? Am I coming from fear?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can even see if I'm about to eat this pizza, I can know if I'm coming from love, or I can come if I'm coming from like anything to not feel what today was.
Yeah.
Anything to not feel
Yeah.
what tomorrow morning's gonna be.
Like how you and I joke about, like, I'm going to take a nap, so today will be over sooner.
Yes.
It's like, that's not revering life.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat this food. And I mean,
I mean, I've had many naps that I called rest, which were in truth attempts to get life over with quicker. And like, I mean, rest. I need to rest now.
Yeah, you're hiding.
Get your ass up and change your physiology and feel different. And so it's such a, and it's okay. Like, I want to say to the watcher of this podcast I remember specific times where, like, I've been on a journey of growth and learning, and I hear all this information. I'm like, okay, well, what's the right thing here? And that's if right now you're listening and you find yourself in that sort of swirl of like, I don't know what to believe and I don't know what to think. We're not here to tell you what to believe. We're not here to tell you what to think. These are all tools. And this book, Seed of the Soul, is a practice for you to cultivate listening to and trusting yourself. For you to cultivate listening to and trusting your unique life experience. Because even the best book that gives the best wisdom, or the best podcasters who got all the dope stuff to say, like,
that's us.
You're living your life. You're responsible for your life. You're the only one who's ever lived and who will ever live this unique experience that you got. So you be responsible for it.
Yeah.
Reverence. That's a wrap, y'all. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you in chapter 4.
We'll see you chapter 4.